How's everybody? Good. Well, you know, we've had a good work week so far this week. I think, you know, as I've said before, when you play in these types of games, it's more about the rivalry than it is the current record, statistics you achieve, the points you've scored, the points you've given up. I think the game means a lot to a lot of people. And one of the things you'll probably get asked someday down the road is, you know, what was your record when you played against Tennessee? So this is an important game. As I said before, you know, preparation is very important. I think it's what gives you confidence. Your energy and enthusiasm, you know, usually happens because something means something to you. And players have worked, you know, really well, you know, so far this week. You know, I think that one of the things that I've mentioned to a couple of the younger players who, you know, we have really been trying to, you know, work in to give us some additional depth and create roles for is, and sometimes they get a little frustrated with the fact that maybe the reputation and the expectation is not necessarily what's happening for them. And that creates a little bit of frustration. But I think the thing that you want guys to do is focus on the things that they control. So if what you have is different from what you want, change what you do. Change how you do it. That's what you control. That gives you the best chance to get better. It gives you the best chance to improve. It gives you the best chance to help the team. And it most certainly will give you the best chance to be the best player you can be, which is our goal for every player that we have. I want to finish this week the right way so that we have good energy and enthusiasm coming into this game. And obviously, you know, we'd like to play well on the road. So it's a conference game. It's a very important game, and Tennessee means a lot to a lot of people. We don't have any new injuries. Ron Kelly's practiced every practice. Dawson Shepard was able to practice today. So we don't really have any new injuries or anything to report.
Going back to 2011, even into spring of 2012, when Ari was dealing with his knee injuries, could you have envisioned him being this productive later in his career, and how much work is from the training staff and from Ari's gone into it?
Well, I really think that when he had the injuries and the problems, and I talked to the medical staff and they gave me the prognosis for the future, it was like, this is going to be a really, really tough rehab. It's going to be a really tough road to hoe. But it did not surprise me that R.E. was a guy that could accomplish it, could do it, could overcome the adversity, because the guy's a great person. He has great character, great work ethic, great student. And really, you know, when he puts his mind to something, he does a really, really good job of finishing it. And so it doesn't surprise me, because I think when you have those kinds of issues and those kinds of adversities in your life, it takes that kind of character to overcome it. And I know he has that kind of character. So I thought from a medical standpoint it would be tough. From a character standpoint, I thought it was a good bet on that particular guy.
From talking to Blake the other day, he talked about some of the harder times he experienced maybe after the Ole Miss game and just kind of mentally coming back from that. What did you see from him, and what were you looking for him at that point in his season?
Well, what we've been looking for from Blake all season is, you know, when you play quarterback, I think everybody has an expectation that you're going to execute and do the things that's going to distribute the ball correctly, whether it's on a running play or a passing play, relative to what defense they're playing, so that you take what the defense gives and you don't force things and try to make plays that aren't there. And, you know, that's something that Blake has done a really, really good job for the most part. But when he hasn't done that, that's been when he struggled a little bit. And I think what happens is when we don't communicate well and we don't execute and everybody's not on the same page, then, you know, it affects the other guys, you know, in terms of how they do what they do. So I think that's the most important thing that we expect from Blake, because when he does that, we really play well and we play with a lot of confidence, and that's probably not as difficult for him to do as his expectation is sometimes when he starts feeling like, I got to make the play. I got to make a play. Because I think sometimes when you try to make plays, that's when not so good things happen. You know, it's a little bit like when you bring the ball up in basketball and you bring it across half court and you say to yourself, I'm going to shoot this time. Chances are you probably won't get a real good shot. If you run the offense, you probably get a better shot. And everybody else will be happier that you did. And they might get a better shot. So that's what we need.
You've been without Denzel Duval now for a couple of weeks. How have guys like Ryan Anderson and others sort of stepped up to fill that void at pass rush?
Well, they've certainly taken advantage of their opportunity. You know, Ryan has done a good job for us. He's been very productive. You know, we miss Denzel. He's a very good player. And there's certain things that we like to do on defense that, you know, Denzel fits very well into. That has been challenging for us to replace. But Ryan has been very productive and I think done a really, really good job. It's given Tim Williams an opportunity. He's got to play a little bit more, and he's been productive, especially in pass rush. Rashawn Evans has got to play a little bit more, and he's been, you know, productive as well. So it's good experience for those guys, and I think they'll add more depth to our team, you know, down the road because of the experience that they gained and the way they took advantage of the opportunity they had.
And kind of a follow-up to that, I guess, how has the pass rush group as a whole improved from last season to this season? This group seems to be getting a little more pressure on the quarterback.
Well, I think we have more diversity, you know, in types of players, you know, that we have this year. We also have more experience, you know, than we had a year ago. So, you know, this year we're more athletic inside, plus we have more guys that are good edge rushers. I mean, Petway's a good edge rusher. Xavier Dixon's a good edge rusher. Denzel's a good edge rusher. I already talked about Rashawn Evans in 56. You know, 93, who was a guy we played outside. We move inside now, is very athletic inside. Jaron Reed's athletic inside. Ashawn Robinson's athletic inside. So we have more guys that have more diversity as players that can add, you know, to the pass rush in those types of games. And they have more experience now, too.
You've used a lot more depth, I guess, in the offensive line this season because of injuries. How important is that maybe going into the end of the season if another injury kind of crops up, guys like Bozeman, Grant Hill, getting some experience out there?
Well, you know, Grant Hill played really well in the game, did a nice job, you know, coming off the bench. I think Bozeman did a good job, you know, for 2 weeks in a row. So those guys having an opportunity to play some obviously is good for their development, but we have a lot of confidence in those guys, and you know, I think depth in the offensive line was a concern to us, and I think it's really, really important, especially, you know, guys like Shank, JC, who may or may not get to play, but continue to develop. You know, Rosh, Persbacher, all those guys have to continue to develop. Dominic, I mean, those are the guys to me that are going to be really important down the road to us, you know, if we get guys injured. So they all have to continue to develop. I think the most difficult thing for players is, you know, I look at even the catapult, you know, which is like having a GPS on, you know, how explosive are you? It gives a number. And then how many explosive movements do you have and what's your average to that number? So it really pretty much tells, are you giving 100% or not? And, you know, the guys that play practice to that level a little bit more than guys that don't. Not in every case, but in lots of cases. And it's because people allow external factors. I look at the DBs. When they're covering a good receiver, their numbers are higher. When they're covering a guy that's not as fast, they're not as good. So all these things mean that you're not controlling what you do. You're letting something else control what you do. All right, I'm going to work hard because I'm going to play, but I'm not going to work as hard if I'm not going to play. So you're letting that control what you do, but you're one play from being in the game. So how are you getting, it's almost like running a 40-yard dash just as fast enough to beat the guy next to you. So he's putting the whole self-imposed limitation on you based on how fast he runs, rather than you running as fast as you can run and trying to set the world record. I don't think you ever set the world record doing that, if that's your mindset. So that's the challenge for all the guys that, hey, it's easy for the guys that know they're going to play to go out there and work hard and get prepared to play. But we need for the other guys to do the same thing, because that's what's going to improve them. And when they get an opportunity, they'll be able to take advantage of it. Guys like Grant Hill and Bradley Bozeman, they do that.
Sort of a numbers question, too. What's the biggest value to when you monitor individual players' snap counts, and does it matter over just a 13, 14-game season? Can it affect what you do long-term based on how many snaps individual guys play?
You're talking about snaps being plays in the game? Well, we don't really, we try to monitor how much a guy plays in the game relative to can we keep him fresh and get him through the game, especially big guys on defense. That would probably be the number one thing. But, the system that I just referred to, the catapult system, is more the system that we use to monitor workload with players and what is the right workload for them to be fresh and ready to play in the game on Saturday. We've had some weeks where we have guys that maybe there's guys injured or whatever, so they have to take more reps in practice. So their numbers go up. They don't look as fresh in the game. All right, so we try to manage that so a guy's getting the work that he needs, but not too much. All right, because if you get too much, then your team starts to wear down. And we use these things to try to make sure we're not doing that as the season progresses. All right, thank you.